Good morning and welcome to another sunrise session. I wish I could be outside right now for this, but it's actually really windy. It's a beautiful day, but it's really windy and the mic's just picking up too much. But today I'm going to talk about compassion and forgiveness. And these are really big topics for me, and I think they probably should be for everybody. I actually am from New York, and so I'm from the Northeast. And if you know anybody from the Northeast, you know that we are full of type A personalities. We've got a list for everything on how things should be done, how we should be treated, and who owes people what, and so forth. And we carried this list into how we get our compassion for others and forgiveness for others, and we make these scales. And I don't know exactly where it came from. I don't think it just came from my parents. I think it came from really the community and the way that we operate. And it's very functioning when you're in that community for a lot of things. But compassion and forgiveness shouldn't be about lists. And I couple these two together because they really work very, very well together. By having a big sense of compassion, it's much easier to forgive. And actually, it's even possible to not get so upset that you even need to forgive, because you can reframe things very quickly by using the techniques I'm going to talk about here. So let's get started, right? There's an old saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I believe that's actually a personification of every single event that happens in our life. The events around us are here to teach us what's actually going on with us, and for us to be able to learn and for us to be able to grow. So this is the same thing with any circumstance or with any person that you actually meet. And the thing is that what we see in others, we must have seen before. What we see in circumstance, we must have seen before for us to understand it. So it must have lived somewhere inside of us. So if we see somebody that's angry, we can only see that because we've been angry at one point in time. If we see somebody that's been happy, and we see all the positive things, it's because we've been in that state before. And if we're in that state of positivity, we will see more positive things about other people. And if we're in a state of anger, we will see more angry things about other people. And any emotion, this is true for every single emotion that's out there. There's saying that this is a giant mirror. Everybody's a mirror for me, and people are starting to use this. It's my own reflection. So this is really important to keep in mind as we move on here, because we are going to experience ourselves by witnessing what other people actually do. And as you practice this, it's gonna seem, you're gonna start to see the connections that I'm talking about here. And as you use this and realize that you've been in this state that this other person is in before, and you've been in their place, it's going to get much easier to manage it. And a lot of times it's not apples to apples. It's not usually, the same exact situation that somebody does the same exact thing to you. If somebody cheated on you, it doesn't mean that you cheated on them. But maybe you were not 100% honest about something, or maybe you were hiding something. It's some area of your life. And then when somebody cheats on you, then you're like completely blown away because you trusted this person just the way somebody might have trusted you. And it doesn't mean that you just did it. It means at some point in your life, this is karma coming back to repay its debt. So your reaction to these things is going to say, hey, am I going to perpetuate this karmic debt that I have? Or am I going to learn from this and move forward? So it's really important to learn this aspect of compassion, because as you learn this aspect of compassion, it's going to make things significantly easier for you and everybody around you. But it's most important that you figure this out, because when you figure this out, things will get significantly better for you. So let's just put this in play. I'm going to use a very simple example. Anybody that's driven a car probably has been here. So you're driving, you're late for an appointment. You might feel stressed, you might feel anxious, and you need to do whatever it takes to save time, because you're going to an important meeting or you're late for an appointment that is very important to you. So This might mean that when you're driving, you have to change lanes a little more often than you probably should, drive at a pace a little faster than you probably should, maybe even kind of cut people off here and there. You know, maybe you're conscientious of it, maybe you're not, maybe you're just in your own world. And other people might either honk their horn at you, or they might even start yelling profanities at you. They might get really, really upset with the way you're driving, and that's a reaction on them. Now, if you flip this around and you were actually driving and you had all the time in the world and somebody else was late, are you the person that lets that person in? Or do you flip them off? Do you yell profanities? Do you get upset? Do you let their actions actually change what you're doing? So it's really up to you to decide when somebody cuts you off, how are you going to react? How are you going to respond to this? Now, you can get really, really angry, and then that takes over your whole self. Or you could be the person that actually lets the person in, and then they can't cut you off because you're actually letting them go in front of you. And when you reframe things like that, and this is an act of compassion because you've been there, you can empathize with this person, you've been in a rush. It's an act of compassion to let somebody come in front of you in your lane, or get out of the fast lane because they're going a lot faster than you. You got to get out of the way and let them pass. Or there might be an intersection where they can't get out and it's just constantly car after car after car. Are you going to be the compassionate person that lets them in? And this way they can't sneak out and try to cut you off. They can't do anything wiry or that's going to upset you because you've actually had compassion going into this. So that's the only way to never get cut off, is by actually having that compassion. And it's the same true for life. If you act with compassion, and remember when you were in whatever state it might be. Maybe it was being in a rush. Maybe you were angry. Maybe you were upset and irrational. Maybe you were just emotional. Maybe you were frustrated with whatever it was that was going on. At some point in your life, you're going to encounter other people that are in these states. And before you ever react to somebody, determine what state that they're in. Because if you can determine what state they're in, then you can remember when you were in that state, and you can be compassionate with them and actually put yourself back into those shoes and say to yourself, hey, what could have actually been done that would have soothed my pain that I was in when I was in the state last time I was really frustrated? I just needed some encouragement. I just needed some acknowledgement that I was really trying. I just needed, what is it? What is it that worked for you? And then display that to this person. And you will find that their reaction to this, it will take them out of that state, and you will actually make the day, significantly better for them, but also for yourself. Because when you start doing this, people's reactions to you become so positive. And it becomes so exciting you actually almost look for these situations. That's what's starting to happen to me. I've been doing this for a while, and it takes time. I'm no means a master of it. But now when I get into these situations where somebody's irate, I just try coming at it from different angles, and I'll try to be playful, and somebody will be all frustrated, and I'll try my playfulness, and that might work. It might not work. I try a more gentle approach. That might work. It might not work. And it's a little experiment, but you get to learn a lot about yourself in this process because you don't become them. You don't let them take over your emotions. So next time you have that moment where somebody seems to lose their temper, you've had those moments in the past. We've all had those moments in the past. I've had those moments in the past, certainly. We've all not been our best selves at some point. So this is your opportunity to balance that karma. Are you going to engage in that behavior and become like that person and let them overtake you? Or are you going to say, I'm not going to react. I'm not going to lash back to this, even if you're completely justified? Because a lot of times it is justified. People come at you like you didn't even know why they're coming at you with this craziness. So just stop for a second and take a deep, deep breath. And remember that time that you were on that edge, where you were in that state. And remember how you could have reacted, or somebody could have reacted differently to you in what way could they have saved you from being in that state any longer? Because nobody wants to feel like crap. And the fact is, there's a lot of people out there that feel like not so great. And it's our responsibility, now that you've learned this technique, it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility for your emotions, your own emotions. It's your responsibility to be the bigger, better person. And the more you do this, the more great situations that arrive in your life. And these things that were once challenging become petty. And as you practice this, it consistently gets easier and easier and easier. I use the example of the car cutting people off because that's kind of a petty thing, but we've all been there where we've gotten caught up in that moment. I think we all have. So I'll give you quick action steps for raising your level of compassion. And this is true for forgiveness as well. It's a little bit different. I'll get to that right afterwards, but I want to really, if you can be compassionate going forward, you won't have to forgive because you won't ever get that upset. So the first step, just take a deep breath and then evaluate how I have been in this similar situation before. Like what is similar about it? What is the similar emotion that's projecting? And how could I use compassion, empathy, sympathy to respond to this situation, to better this situation? You're not going to react, and that's what most of us do. Somebody says something and we immediately say something back to them. That's just reactive. We're going to actually respond to them. By taking these two steps, then we're going to be able to be in a better state to diffuse the situation and move forward. Now, don't get attached to the outcome. People may or may not respond how you want them to respond, and that's not up to you, that's up to them. All that's up to you is moving forward and seeing the opportunity in a situation, maintaining your state of being, because you really can't control what other people do. And for us to think that we can, that's just crazy that we think that we can do it, but for some reason we think it's our responsibility to cheer everybody up or fix other people's problems. The reality is all we can do is be our best selves. So they don't need to understand your side. You don't have to explain it. It doesn't matter. If they want to know, you can, but most of the time people just need to get out of the state that they're in before they can ever be receptive. So don't go on with your list. I've learned that time and time again being from the Northeast, and like I said, we love our list. You know, there's some exceptions. Obviously, you want to make sure that if you feel like your safety is jeopardized, just peace out. Just try to get out of there as soon as you can. You don't have to dissolve every situation. I only really approach the ones that are actually directly affecting me. I won't get in the middle of other people's stuff. That's their karma. I can witness it from afar. It's like watching a movie to me. In the past, I used to try to mediate, and then I just became part of that emotion and state, so forth. And then also, of course, if your core values are being imposed upon, you know, and this is a repeat offender, it might not be worth it. You know, you might want to just say, I'm just going to let this person do their thing, and I'll come back and tackle this stuff at a later date, a later time, because as you do this and as you practice raising your empathy and as you practice showing compassion and raising that ability and applying it, what actually ends up happening is you can take on bigger and more difficult situations. The car driving one, that's maybe a good place to start. Just let people in the lane and don't get upset. And you know what, if you get somewhere 30 seconds later, who cares? It's 30 seconds. You know, if you're in a rush, you might find that everybody moves out of your way when it's time for you to be in a rush and the lanes just seem to clear. That seems to be what happens to me now that I'm practicing this method, which I have not always, and it's still a practice because I'm not a master at it. So if your core beliefs are being imposed upon, or if it's somebody that's just doing this all the time, just table it. Stop hanging out with them. You know, draw your line in the sand. That's where it is. Now, I'm going to give you a quick overview on forgiveness, but we're going to do this another time. I was really hoping to get both of them in there. But compassion really prevents you from having to forgive because you're forgiving moment by moment by moment by moment. And I'll come back, maybe on Monday we'll do a deeper dive on forgiveness. But forgiveness works very much a similar way as compassion does, because at the end of the day, you've experienced the emotion that the other person is experiencing. And when you can put things in perspective, if somebody's wronged you, rather than figuring out how you level the playing field. And that's one of the things that I've been so guilty of. It's like, well, you did this, so you're going to have to make it up to me by doing this, this, and this, so that I know that blah, 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 blah. I don't know where I learned that technique, but forgiveness is all about the forgiver. It's completely up to you to decide to forgive somebody. So maybe this weekend, think about some people that might have wronged you and might have hurt you. And rather than looking at how they hurt you, look at how they were hurting and how they could possibly do something like that. Not how they could do it to you, but maybe their frame, their state of mind was in this pain. And when you can actually find what that state was, what their pain was, and then remember a time, again, where you might have been feeling like that, and you might have acted out, you might have lashed out, then you can start the forgiveness process. You know, forgiveness does not mean that you let the person completely do this to you over and over again, that you're a doormat. Forgiveness is about letting go of whatever that thing was that they did, whatever pain that they caused. It's about just letting that go so you're not hanging on to the energy. And ideally, you want to forget that they even did it. And you only can forget if they don't keep doing it, but they're not going to stop doing it if you keep bringing it up. It's still in your attention, it's still in your awareness. So we're going to do a deeper dive next week on forgiveness, but just start thinking about some of the people that may have hurt you, situations that might have hurt you, and how you can let them go. Because when you let go that pain that you're holding on to, which we love our pain, it's part of our ego, right? Our pain makes us who we are. We become so rooted in it, and we own it, and we have it. When we can forgive, we can let go of pain, and living life with less pain sounds good to me. I mean, I suppose it should sound amazing to you too. It's just it's a lot of energy bottled up, and it's why we carry extra weight in our bodies. There's so much to do with forgiveness and the pain that we carry with forgiveness that cause internal problems for us in our health, way beyond just what it does to our mind. So we're going to talk about that next week. I went way over, but this is such a big, important topic, and I really, really hope that you share this and with people that you know that are suffering, that need to forgive people, or that need to be able to be in the moment a little bit more and not like lose their shit, so to say. I really hope that you share this, tag people and that could benefit from it, because I've benefited from so much, and the people I've learned from, I see how they've just grown substantially as they practice it and become masters of it. And I know that the more that this goes around, the better world we live in. So thank you very much for watching. Please share, please tag, please like, please. It motivates me so much to do this. We had a bunch of views. I finally broke 1,000 views on one of my videos, and it's so inspiring to do this. So thank you very much, and look forward to your feedback, comments, and those likes and shares. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.